The 1964 Dissolution Honours were officially announced on 27 November 1964 and marked the dissolution of Parliament following the 1964 general election. Hereditary peerages. Viscounts: the R.T. Hon. the Lord Dillon, Conservative Member of Parliament for Daventry 1943 to 1950, and for South Northamptonshire 1950 to 1962. Solicitor General for England and Wales 1951 to 1954. Attorney General for England and Wales 1954 to 1962. Lord Chancellor 1962 to 1964. For political and public services. Barons: the R.T. Hon. Frederick James Errol TD MP, Conservative Member of Parliament for Altrincham and Sale since 1945. Parliamentary Secretary, Ministry of Supply, 1955 – 1956, and to Board of Trade, 1956 to 1958. Economic Secretary to the Treasury, 1958 – 1959. Minister of State, Board of Trade, 1959 to 1961. President of the Board of Trade, 1961 to 1963. Minister of Power, 1963 – 1964. For political and public services, Sir Hugh Fraser BTJ PDL Chairman and Managing Director, House of Fraser Limited. For political and public services, Sir Robert Villiers Grimston BT, Conservative Member of Parliament for Westbury, 1931 to 1964. Deputy Chairman of Ways and Means, 1962 to 1964. For political and public services, John Granville Morrison TDDL MP, Conservative Member of Parliament for Salisbury since 1942. Chairman, Conservative Members Committee, 1955 to 1964. For political and public services, Sir Robert Burnham Renwick BTKBE, Partner in W. Greenwell & Co. For political and public services, Lt. Colonel Michael Henry Colin Hughes Young MC, Conservative Member of Parliament for Wandsworth Central, 1955 to 1964. A Lord Commissioner of the Treasury, 1958 to 1962, and Deputy Government Chief Whip, 1959 to 1964. Treasurer of the Household, 1962 to 1964. For political and public services. Life peerages. Dame Barbara Muriel Brooke DBE, Joint Vice Chairman, Conservative Party Organisation, 1954 to 1964. For political and public services. The Hon. Evelyn Violet Elizabeth Emmett JPMP, Conservative Member of Parliament for East Grinstead since 1955. Chairman, National Union of Conservatives, 1955 – 1956. For political and public services. Privy Councillors. The R.T. Hon. the Lord Chesham, Parliamentary Secretary to Ministry of Transport, 1959 to 1964. Edward Dillon Lott Ducan MP, Conservative Member of Parliament for Taunton since 1956. Economic Secretary to the Treasury, 1962 – 1963. Minister of State, Board of Trade, 1963 – 1964. Sir Kenneth William Murray Pigthorne BT MP, Conservative Member of Parliament for Cambridge University, 1935 to 1950, and for Carlton since 1950. Parliamentary Secretary, Ministry of Education, 1951 to 1954. Baronetcies. Graham Bell Finley Ed, Conservative Member of Parliament for Epping, 1951 to 1964. a Lord Commissioner of the Treasury, 1959 – 1960, Vice Chamberlain of the Household, 1960 to 1964, for political and public services. Knights Bachelor, Frederick McArness Bennett MP, Conservative Member of Parliament for Reading North, 1951 to 1955, and for Torquay since 1955, for political and public services, with CDR Eric Edward Bullis MP, Conservative Member of Parliament for Wembley North since 1950. For political and public services, with CDR Henry Algernon Langton DSODFC for political services in Devizes and Wessex, George Wilton Lee TD for political and public services in Sheffield, Rupert Malise Spear MP, Conservative Member of Parliament for Hexham since 1951, for political and public services. Order of the Companions of Honour. The RT. Hon. Henry Brooke MP, Conservative Member of Parliament for Lewisham West 1938 to 1945 and for Hampstead since 1950. Financial Secretary to the Treasury, 1954 to 1957, Minister of Housing and Local Government, and Minister for Welsh Affairs, 1957 to 1961, Chief Secretary to the Treasury and Paymaster General, 1961–1962, Home Secretary 1962 to 1964. For political and public services. Order of the British Empire. Dames Commander Joan Helen Vickers MBE MP, Conservative Member of Parliament for Plymouth Devonport since 1955. For political and public services. Knights Commander the RT. Hon. David Lockhart Muir Renton TD QC MP, National Liberal Member of Parliament for Huntingdonshire, 1945 to 1950, and National Liberal and Conservative Member for Huntingdon since 1950. Parliamentary Secretary to Ministry of Fuel and Power, 1955 to 1957, to Ministry of Power, 1957–1958, Joint Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State, Home Office, 1958 to 1961, Minister of State, Home Office, 1961–1962, for political and public services. The RT. Hon. The Earl St Aldwyn TDDL Joint Parliamentary Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, 1954 to 1958. Captain of the Gentlemen-at-Arms and Government Chief Whip, House of Lords, 1958 to 1964. For political and public services. Commanders Reginald Thomas Glennie, for political services in Marylebone. George Hutchinson, for political services. Joan Florence Mary, Lady Newman, for political and public services in Hitchin. The RT. Hon. The Lord Tweedsmuir OBE Chairman, Joint East and Central African Board 1950 to 1952. President, Commonwealth and British Empire Chambers of Commerce 1955 to 1957. A Governor of the Commonwealth Institute since 1958. President, Institute of Exports since 1963. For political and public services. Officers Peter Reginald George Horton, for political services. Brendan Straker Sue Ill, for political services. Members Kathleen Mary Bryant, for political services. Alexander Douglas Eastwood, for political services in Kingston upon Hull.